There is an agricultural commodity that defies every tenet of contemporary farming. It generates twice the yield of potatoes, endures cold temperatures lethal to wheat, and once sown, eliminates the need for future seed purchases, perpetually re-establishing itself. For millennia, it served as the ultimate safeguard against hunger, until we intentionally eradicated it. Its discontinuation was not due to failure. Rather, it was because of its overwhelming success. A crop that flourishes autonomously, provides sustenance without cost, and propagates extensively cannot be monopolized. And that which cannot be monopolized cannot be monetized. This is the narrative of a perennial plant that outlasted empires, survived 2 global conflicts, and still lies dormant beneath your feet. Welcome to Nature Lost Vault. Before we delve into this archive, if these narratives resonate with you, the simplest way to preserve this knowledge is to subscribe, activate notifications, and disseminate these vaults to those who need to recall what we have forgotten. The archive commences on the eastern seaboard of North America in 1605. A French explorer, Samuel de Champlain, disembarks on what would later become Massachusetts. The Algonquin people extend a welcoming feast, featuring a tuberous root they name Kaishuk Panak, or the sun root. Champlain samples it. He records in his journal that it rivals the European artichoke. He loads his ship's hold with these tubers and voyages back to France. This is the sunchoke, Helianthus tuberosus, an indigenous perennial sunflower root found in the Great Lakes and eastern woodland regions. Long before Champlain's arrival, Native American tribes were privy to its secrets. The Iroquois recounted a tale. When Earthwoman perished giving birth to twin sons, Sapling and Flint, the inaugural sunchokes sprouted from her feet, a crop born from sacrifice. The plant grows to an imposing height of 8 to 10 feet, crowned with yellow sunflowers that track the sun's trajectory. However, its true value lies hidden, buried beneath the soil. These gnarled tubers, appearing in white, purple, and gold, store sweetness as inulin, not starch. From the Atlantic to the Great Plains, tribes would plant it once and harvest endlessly. It proliferated through subterranean rhizomes, forming a network of veins beneath the earth. A single patch could sustain a village for multiple generations. In 1805, Lewis and Clark faced near starvation while traversing the Dakotas. Sacagawea averted disaster. She discovered mouse caches containing thousands of sunchokes meticulously gathered underground for winter sustenance. She unearthed them, roasted them over a fire, and nourished the expedition. The tubers could be consumed raw, possessing a crisp texture akin to water chestnuts, or boiled until tender. They could also be dried into flour, which provided provisions throughout winter. They endured freezing temperatures while remaining in the ground, perpetually ready to alleviate hunger. The yield was astonishing. A single plant could produce 3 to 6 pounds. An acre yielded more food than wheat, and a greater quantity of food than corn in colder climates. Subsequent centuries of studies would corroborate this claim. 64,000 pounds per acre without any irrigation. Potatoes, even under optimal conditions, yielded 53,000 pounds with irrigation. This was not a luxury. It was the essence of survival, a cornerstone of sustenance. When Champlain transported sunchokes to France in 1605, Europe was grappling with widespread famine. Soils were depleted, and hunger crises recurred every few years. The potato was viewed with apprehension, with many believing it caused leprosy. Yet the sunchoke propagated like a lifeline. The French dubbed it topinambur, while the Italians called it girasole, meaning sunflower. It nourished peasants, livestock, and even royalty. Requiring no fertilizer and minimal upkeep, one could plant a tuber in spring and harvest in autumn, leaving fragments in the soil to guarantee a full crop the following year. Centuries later, university trials corroborated farmers' observations. Sunchoke produced 30,000 calories per acre, surpassing potatoes, which yielded 20,000 calories. Sunchokes directly competed with corn, the world's most significant grain. Nevertheless, challenges began to surface. The tubers were diminutive, irregular, and difficult to clean and harvest mechanically. They spoiled more rapidly than potatoes, and could not be stored in warehouses for extended periods. Furthermore, the inulin content caused flatulence in individuals unaccustomed to its consumption. By the mid-17th century, the potato prevailed. It was larger, smoother, and easier to store, seamlessly integrating into the systems Europe had established: warehouses, markets, and taxation structures. The sunchoke diminished in prominence, relegated to a food source for the impoverished and animal feed, a crop for those with no other options. In North America, settlers labeled it a weed, preferring European crops such as wheat and potatoes, which necessitated annual seed purchases and could be regulated, taxed, and sold. The sunchoke persisted in ditches, along roadsides, and in forgotten areas, but it was no longer cultivated or esteemed. It merely waited. Then came war. World War I. Germany faced crippling sanctions due to an Allied blockade. The winter of 1916 became notoriously known as the turnip winter. People resorted to consuming rutabagas intended for livestock because potato crops had failed, leading to thousands of deaths. Sunchokes provided salvation for some, growing wild in neglected fields. They could not be blockaded or seized. They simply lay dormant underground, awaiting desperate hands. However, World War II proved even more devastating. In France in 1940, Nazi forces commandeered 80% of all food supplies. Potatoes were diverted to German soldiers, leaving French families with meagre scraps, sunchokes, rutabagas, and vegetables once reserved for swine. For 9 years, millions subsisted on topinambur. People developed an aversion to it. The tubers were small and arduous to clean. When consumed daily, they caused severe flatulence. Nevertheless, they sustained children when all other provisions were exhausted. The Nazi hunger plan confiscated food from occupied territories while millions starved. Yet, sunchokes could not be controlled. They were too resilient, too untamed. They simply grew. In the Netherlands, the winter of 1944 became known as the Hunger Winter, with 22,000 deaths from starvation. The government issued emergency cookbooks featuring wild plants, tulip bulbs, and sunchokes. Families excavated frozen ground with their bare hands in search of tubers. Following liberation, survivors refused to consume them. An entire generation associated topinambur with death, occupation, and the most horrific years humanity had witnessed. In France, grandparents who endured these times forbade its presence on their tables. Never again. The vegetable that saved millions became a symbol of suffering. It vanished from markets, cookbooks, and memory. Yet, war could not alter the intrinsic properties of sunchokes. They contain 73 calories per 100 grams, 2 grams of protein, and 429 milligrams of potassium, exceeding bananas. They are also rich in iron, copper, magnesium, and B vitamins, nourishing every cell. Their true potency lies in inulin, comprising 50 to 60% of their weight, making them one of Earth's richest sources. Inulin traverses the stomach undigested, reaching the colon intact. Beneficial bacteria, particularly bifidobacterium, thrive on it, multiplying and producing short-chain fatty acids. These compounds lower pH, inhibit pathogens, and facilitate the absorption of calcium and magnesium that would otherwise be excreted. Studies have demonstrated its efficacy in reducing constipation and bolstering immune function. It may even prevent certain cancers from developing. Unlike potatoes, sunchokes do not cause blood sugar spikes. Their inulin slowly converts to fructose. Diabetics in the 1980s reported that daily consumption of sunchokes reduced their insulin dependence by half, validating folk medicine with scientific evidence. Furthermore, the plant rejuvenates the soil. As a perennial, it obviates the need for tilling, thereby preventing erosion. Its deep roots fracture compacted soil, and it withstands drought, infertile ground, and temperatures as low as -30 degrees Celsius. Where annual crops perish, sunchokes flourish. They were inherently designed for challenging conditions. In the 1960s, in California, a produce wholesaler named Frida Kaplan observed dusty, gnarled tubers. The name was detrimental: Jerusalem artichoke. It was confusing and inaccurate. It was neither from Jerusalem nor an artichoke. The Italian term girasole, meaning sunflower, had been corrupted by English speakers. She rebranded it as the sunchoke and trademarked the name in 1980. She packaged it in 1-pound bags, including recipes, which caused sales to surge by 600%. Chefs discovered its culinary appeal: nutty, sweet, crisp when raw, and creamy when cooked. Upscale restaurants in San Francisco offered sunchoke soups, roasted sides, and purees. However, a more significant transformation was underway. The 1980s farm crisis devastated Midwest farmers, leading to an experimental endeavor: cultivating sunchokes for food, animal feed, fuel, and independence from corporate supply chains. Its high yields, perennial nature, and potential for ethanol production via inulin fermentation seemed ideal. Economically, it failed due to a lack of market and processing infrastructure, resulting in financial losses for farmers. Yet, the concept persisted: a crop for self-sufficiency, for communities resisting corporate dominance. In France, decades after the war, chefs reclaimed topinambour. Designated forgotten vegetables, they shed their symbolic association with suffering, becoming a testament to heritage. By the 2000s, sunchokes reappeared in farmers' markets across North America and Europe. Permaculture advocates hailed them as the Holy Grail, providing endless harvests from a single planting. Today, scientists are investigating their potential for marginal lands. As climate change threatens wheat and corn crops, the sunchoke endures, forged in adversity, built for extremes, embodying resilience. So why don't we see it everywhere? Industrial agriculture demands uniformity. Crops that ripen predictably, are harvested mechanically, ship without bruising, store for months, and appear flawless under artificial lighting. Sunchokes resist these demands. They mature at varying rates, spoil rapidly, and potato harvesters lose half their tubers due to their small size and firm attachment to roots. Efficient harvesting necessitates specialized equipment or manual labor, neither of which scales or yields significant profits. And then there's the inulin dilemma. What makes them nutritionally superior also causes flatulence. The gut bacteria require time to adapt, but modern food culture tolerates no adaptation periods. It demands instant gratification. The nickname artichoke became widespread. Even Julia Child famously inquired, "Can you fix the flatulence problem?" The answer is yes. Cook them longer, as heat converts inulin to fructose, or consume small quantities, allowing the body to adjust. However, this requires patience, a virtue absent in industrial food production. Consequently, sunchokes remain a niche product, found in farmers' markets, specialty crops, and home gardens where they propagate uncontrollably. This uncontrollable spread is precisely the point. You cannot eradicate sunchokes without resorting to poison. Every plant fragment can sprout. In Europe, plants are labelled invasive when they proliferate unchecked. We reserve the term invasive for phenomena that thrive without our approval, entities that don't depend on us. They serve as a harsh reminder that control is merely an illusion. The sunchoke offers lessons that empires wish to suppress. Abundance doesn't necessitate control. Perennial plants return of their own accord, requiring no seed purchases, no chemical inputs, no corporate endorsement. They adapt, endure, and outlast. However, crops that persist independently of profit are deemed hazardous. The sunchoke surpasses potatoes in yield, revitalizes depleted soil, and nourishes communities without intermediaries. It resists patenting, ownership, or the generation of perpetual income. Consequently, it's branded as primitive, challenging, and unsuitable. This pattern recurs consistently. Amaranth was forbidden by conquistadors due to its sacred significance. Tepary beans were eliminated by machinery incapable of accommodating their unique attributes. Mesquite trees were cleared for cattle, which then destroyed the very ecosystems the trees protected. Faba beans, which flourish freely in gardens, were supplanted by expensive pills, costing $500 for a product offering similar benefits. Indigenous crops supporting community autonomy are systematically eradicated, not for their failures, but for their ability to thrive unbound. The sunchoke persisted because it's virtually indestructible, yet many living individuals have never tasted it, cultivated it, or learned how 3 autumn-planted tubers can yield 30 by spring. This knowledge remains dormant, beneath the surface. As climate change intensifies, bringing droughts, floods, and heat waves, the crops currently feeding 8 billion people, engineered for stability, face an uncertain future. That stability is rapidly eroding. The sunchoke, by contrast, originated in challenging conditions. It stores energy in deep root systems, impervious to drought, and withstands cold temperatures that kill potatoes. It outperforms corn in yield while using 1/3 of the water. When industrial agricultural systems inevitably falter, the sunchoke will be ready. It has been prepared for 4 centuries. French families survived occupation by eating topinambour, despite their dislike for it. During wartime, Dutch mothers scoured frozen ground for tubers to feed their starving children. Native Americans called it Kaishuk Panak sunroot, a gift born from the Earth Woman's sacrifice. Names transform, memories fade, only to re-emerge. Yet the plant itself never departed, remaining a perennial underground, awaiting hands willing to uncover it. We didn't lose the sunchoke, we simply forgot it. But forgetting is not irreversible. The knowledge persists within the soil, in every wild patch, in every escaped tuber, in every gardener who plants 3 and harvests 30. This crop imparts wisdom through its resilience, its refusal to succumb. Abundance was always present, growing freely in the earth. If this revelation resonated with you, subscribe to Nature Lost Vault and activate notifications. Every like and share helps preserve what others sought to erase. The next vault will soon be unveiled.